Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Bernard.
Good evening, Phil. And how are you? Or good morning for you, I believe.
It is morning for me and evening for you, and you're going to a pub the first time since April. Was that what you told me?
First time since March. First time in 4 months.
March, wow.
Yeah.
Very good.
So I've got my face mask out, ready for it. Should it be required? It's all legal
Excellent.
now. You have to wear them here now. My wife was making an old T-shirt yesterday.
That's one of the traits and characteristics I like about you, maybe even love about you, is your ability to be prepared, not only in going to a pub, which is kind of a fun thing, but in doing business with yourself and your clients. What I'm excited about sharing with the audience today is some of the wisdom that you have. I'm really looking forward to that.
Fantastic. So basically, when we're on together, we tend to feed off each other, don't we? So
we do.
In what you have to add at the end, which is always exciting as well. So excellent.
So we're going to stand out for higher prices. And Bernard, being the expert on this subject, I know a little bit about it, but he's spent some time to put together this presentation for all of us this morning, today, or this evening, or later next week when you watch this.
Now, the first thing I'd like to draw attention to is the actual title, because that's deliberate. Because unless you do stand out from your competitors, we like to call it a market dominating position, don't we, Phil? But
exactly.
You need to have a clear idea as to exactly who it is you're trying to sell or market to. And then you need to have something about your business that sets you out from the competitors, makes you stand out. Because if you don't stand out from your competitors, then you can't charge higher prices. You end up on just competing on price. And that's really the road to nowhere, because if you can't get away from that, then prices are driven down, margins are driven down. It doesn't really work. So you do need to stand out in order to have higher prices. So that's why that title slide is as it is. So if we move on to the next slide.
Totally makes sense to me.
Yeah. Now, I think it's always interesting. Whenever I mention this, if I'm ever doing a live event, I don't know if you find this, Phil, but if you ever mention pricing, it's always a really hot topic, because many small business owners are very, very unsure as to how to set their prices and whether they got their pricing right, and what they can do to improve it. So this list now tends to be what many people do. The first one is they work out what it costs them, and then they add something on top. And the trouble with that is that, okay, you're not losing money because you are adding on top of your costs, but you've no idea whether you're charging the right price in terms of the value you're giving, and you've no idea whether you could charge more. And it tends to be that is combined with copying your competitors, because generally, guess what? That's what your competitors tend to do as well. So if everyone's adopting the same sort of approach, then you end up with everyone setting prices very similar to each other and competing on price. So moving on.
Yeah, just find my button.
Yeah, I'll find on sometimes that the transitions take a while to do, don't they? Because I don't know whether it's a lot of people on it, I don't know. Another way that people do, which is similar to cost plus markup really, is, and a lot of professionals do this, they charge an hourly rate. But again, the same argument. If it's an hourly rate, it doesn't really bear any relation to the value you're supplying, and it doesn't really help you stand out from your competitors, because again, if you're charging an hourly rate, it will probably be something similar to the hourly rate that your competitors are charging. And it's a bit transparent as well, because if you try and charge a higher hourly rate, people analyze, what exactly is it in your hour that's different to their hour. So this is the one that ideally we need to follow, which is perceived value to the customer. So we need to know what it is that the customer values, and we need to be able to price accordingly. And I know it's easier said than done, but I do think it's important that we do keep that in mind.
Yes, absolutely. It ties back to something we talked about recently on a previous live stream, and that was market dominating position. And that's where we can help deal with the perceived value and help our clients tell a better story.
Yes, and if you remember that case study of Schlitz beer,
yes,
what that was all about was that actually, when it came down to it, what Schlitz beer were doing was the same as everybody else. So there wasn't anything objectively that made them stand out from their competitors. But when the marketing people talked to them and they described what they did, they used crystal clear water from a particular lake and only certain hops, and they had to use sparkling clean silver shiny vats, and everything about it was crystal clean and pure. And they said to them, well, do you tell everyone about that? And they said, well, no, because that's what everyone else does. And then they said, but does everyone else tell them? And they said, no, they don't. So they started actually explaining to customers and prospects what it was they did in much more detail than anyone else was doing it. And that in itself was enough to make them stand out from the crowd and to be seen as different and be seen as offering extra value. So that enabled them to charge, to become market dominating in terms of their market share. You need to have something that's different, or be able to make the customer think that there's something different about what you do, which is all about explaining it in more depth. And this is a big one. If you've got different pricing strategies, like 3 offers, platinum, gold, silver, then what it means is you can actually position different amounts of value to different segments of your customers or clients, which means that you can actually increase the average price you're charging, even if your sort of headline basic price is similar to everybody else's. You need to be able to segment your client base. And I've got some diagrams which we will be coming on to where I can explain how this actually works.
Exactly. So I had a bit of a debate on one of the social media platforms. I'll leave it nameless, and the person nameless. And they had posted something about suggesting that you make sure, instead of just giving one choice, you give them a second choice. 74% of opportunities convert if you give them a second choice. So I piped up and suggested they give them a triplicate of choice. And my experience with that is that you give people a choice, 3 choices or more. It doesn't make it harder to pick an option. It makes it harder for them to not convert. And usually what I found in my experience is they end up I use a triplicate of choice, a platinum, gold, silver approach, and they usually end up in the gold.
Well, that's it. I think I can't remember the exact figure, so I'm sort of hesitant to quote a figure, but I'm sure I've seen that research indicates that where you offer 3 options like that, something like 50% or more actually go for the middle option. Whereas if you've only got one option, obviously 100% just go for the one option. So we talked about the platinum, gold, silver, and I think there was one other thing down there was bundling, wasn't there? Which is
exactly. Can you see that there now?
And the whole idea of bundling is we supply extra value rather than discount our prices or compete on price. So an example would be if you're a restaurant and you're quiet on a Monday night, rather than say 20% discount if you eat here on a Monday evening between 8 and 10, say, what you would say is free dessert or free bottle of wine or free starter worth, $20 or whatever, and you'll find that it actually costs you a lot less than that to supply that.
Yeah. So in the pizza restaurant world, we've got an expert on watching us right now. He services that community. But one of the things that sticks in my mind with that example is that instead of discounting the pizzas, if you were to say buy 2 extra large pizzas and we'll throw in a Caesar salad as a bonus, the salad costs a couple of bucks. The perceived value is, I don't know, $9, $10, $11, $12 per pound, depending on what country you're in, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And actually, what's really good about that approach, of course, is that you've actually got people buying, not just coming to you as opposed to the competitors, but they're coming to you and they're buying, well, effectively the upsell, aren't they? Because they're buying the upsell because of the incentive. So that's an even better approach. That's very good.
Eric just posted his wife would buy all 3 options. We need to find more clients like her.
Yeah. Okay, so what I've got on the diagram there, you can't really see the bottom actually, but it's what's called a supply demand curve.
Let me get rid of the banner.
Yeah, I think it's the business cafe sign.
It is. Watch this.
There you go. Right, now, anyone who's done any economics will have seen this before. And it's very easy to say, oh, well, that's just theory and it's in books. But I'm going to show you that it actually does apply in the real world. So what you've got there, the blue line basically says that generally, the higher the price in the marketplace, the more people you'll get coming in to sell in that marketplace. So it tends to be that there's a positive relationship between the price and the amount that people are willing to supply to the market. The red line indicates that generally, for any given product in any given market, generally you'd expect to sell more at lower prices than if you're charging a higher price, which is why people compete on price, and it's why people tend to discount. If they're both called market forces, and basically what happens is where the two meet each other, that's what's called the market equilibrium price. So that's interesting because I think I'll wait to the next few diagrams to explain it bit by bit. But just hold that thought that is called the market equilibrium price. So where that brown line is across, that's the market price, and that's the market quantity down below. So what it means is that everyone buying that product in the marketplace is buying at that price. Okay, so the plot thickens if we move on to the next one. Because what that also means is, if you look at that sort of triangle between the brown line and the red line to the left, that area in economics is called consumer surplus, because what it means is that if you'd have charged a higher price than that, you would still have sold to all those people to the left. Yeah, let me just, yeah, where Phil is there. So you would have sold, those people would still have bought from you at a higher price. It's just that the higher the price, the fewer of them would have bought. But what it means is they're all able to buy at the market price, even though quite a lot, well, all of them would have actually paid higher had they had to do so. So what that means is that if you could segment your customers or clients, you can offer different value propositions to all of those people to the left of where the market price is. And if you position it correctly, you can have different propositions. So that's why you can have platinum, gold, silver. You can have cross sells, you can have upsells, all the things that people would pay more for because they'll perceive the extra value. Whereas if you don't offer all those things, they'll just pay the market price for the market, you know, for want of a better term, for the market sort of bog standard product. So that's why different packages and adding in extra value and cross sells and upsells all work, because you're targeting that area there that's called consumer surplus. Does that make sense, Phil?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great little image of the whole process.
And there's another bit on there as well. If you just go back one again, Phil, please. The other interesting thing is that where the two lines cross is called the market price, and that if you take that straight down, that's how much people will buy at that price. But also, if you follow that demand line down to the right, you'll find that there's people who would still buy from you if the price was lower. It's just you haven't lowered the price sufficiently for them to buy. So what that means is that if you have a lower value proposition as well, so ideally you have a platinum, gold, silver for the people to the left of where the lines cross, but you also have a lower value proposition to the right called a downsell. And the idea there is that people will still buy from you a proposition that's lower value but lower price than the market price one. But the beauty of that is that they will come in on a lower price offering called a downsell, and now they are existing customers. And once they become existing customers, it's 6 times cheaper and easier to market to them than it is to bring in new customers. So now you can nurture those people till eventually they move up that red line and become, you know, the people in the platinum, the gold, silver packages, because you can market them and you can nurture them. So really what you want is a platinum, gold, silver proposition. You want a cross-sell, which is a related product at the point of sale, like, you know, burgers and fries. You want an upsell, which is, would you like to go large for that? You want extra value bundling in, so that's where buy 2 large pizzas between certain hours and we'll throw in a Caesar salad. And you want a downsell option, which means that if people won't buy your normal market price product, they'll buy a cheaper product with less value, so you're still making a profit on it. And now you can nurture them as existing customers. And it all fits in because of that diagram that everyone thinks is just book theory, but actually isn't. It's really applicable in the real world. Does that make sense, Phil?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to add something. We're going to be 30 minutes today, so we're going to run quicker than we normally do. I'm going to have to invite somebody in, and I have somebody in mind, Zoho Joe, and have him tell us about the nurturing process, because one of the things that I've found, I don't know if you found this or not, but probably as many as 80% of small businesses do not know how or don't have a nurturing system.
Yes, I agree.
Anyway, I'm going to move right along.
Okay.
There you go.
Right, okay, so now, another thing that people need to understand about pricing, and some do, and some will have seen this before, is just how much difference a small difference in price actually makes to your bottom line. So going back to my previous argument, anything you can do to raise your average price will have a disproportionately large effect on your bottom line. So this table explains it. So what we've got here is we're selling whatever it is, widgets, wheelbarrows, whatever, but we're selling 5,000 units of them in a year. And the starting price at the top on the left there is £10 or dollars. I should have changed this for the American market, I do apologize, but $10. But it costs us $4 to make or sell those things. It's called cost of goods sold. So what it means is we're making £6 or dollars on everything we sell. We're selling 5,000 of them, so our gross profit is 30,000. But we've got fixed overheads of 10,000, which means that our bottom line operating net profit is the gross profit 30 minus the 10 overheads, which is 20,000. So the next line down says, right, well, we need to capture a bit of market share. So why don't we have a discount? So we discount by 10% down to 9. But it still costs us 4 to make or sell it, or to make or buy these things. But now we're only making $5 or pounds on everything we sell, 5,000 of them. So now our gross profit is only 25,000, but we've still got 10,000 overheads. So now our bottom line operating profit has fallen to 15,000, 25 minus 10. Whereas on the other hand, if we'd have put our prices up by 10%, then we'd now be making 7 on everything we sell because it still costs us 4. So we'd make a gross profit of 35,000. We've still got fixed overheads of 10. So our net profit, our operating bottom line profit, is 25,000. So you can see there that there's a huge difference in terms of bottom line profit compared to a 10% difference in price. Now, okay, you might sell more with a 10% discount, but the odds are you won't sell very much more, particularly these days, because it's reckoned now that unless you have something like 30 or 40% discount, people don't even notice it. So assuming it might make a bit of a difference, but not much, you've got a lot of ground to make up when your net profit is dropping from 20,000 by 25% down to 15,000, or going from 20,000 up to 25,000, which is a 25% increase. And it's actually more dramatic than that, because I think the next slide shows.
And just before we jump in there, I want to add to what you're just saying there. Many people are afraid of raising their prices because they think they're going to lose an exponential number of clients, that they'll actually lose money. And we have ways to, and information not on for today's presentation, that addresses that. And what's amazing is even with the price increase, they'll still be ahead of the ball game, not having to work so hard as well, and they'd still be at a higher level of profitability. So I'm going to move to the next slide.
Yeah, well, actually, that's a really good point, Phil. And to add a couple of things there, you'd have to lose something like 25% of your customers by raising your prices 10% to actually lose by it. But even then, you'd have more spare capacity, which means you can concentrate on going for the more high-value customers and clients, because you'd have time to do it, which will win for you anyway. So actually, even if you did lose some customers, you'd probably lose the ones you want to lose, the bottom 80% who only give you 20% of your value, and the ones who are probably most hassle to deal with and least profitable. And most.
Yeah, you'd be able to give a better customer experience, not customer service, but customer experience.
Yeah. Now, this just summarizes. So the difference between lowering your prices 10%, where you lose 25% of your profit, and increasing them by 10%, where you increase your profit by 25%, is shown on that table. But it's more than that, because I think the next slide puts this into real context. Anything to add there, Phil? Or this is it,
no,
right?
No.
Because what this is saying is, if you took the discounted price of 9, if you charged your original price, you'd be 33% better off in terms of profit. But if you put your prices up 10% rather than lowering them 10%, you've ended up with 67% more profit. So what you're saying is a 10% increase gives you 67% more profit than a 10% discount, unless you get an incredible number of extra customers through the discount, which is highly unlikely. So to summarize that, what we're really saying is that anything you can do to raise your average price, like standing out from your competitors, is disproportionately profitable in terms of your bottom line. And the best ways to raise your average price, well, one, you should be looking to put your price up anyway, because you're adding in extra value and you're positioning yourself. But secondly, if you have a platinum gold silver package, that will enable you to have a higher average price, even without necessarily being seen to have increased your headline price. And the difference between 10% lower and 10% higher than your price at the moment is massive in terms of your bottom line profit for virtually any business that will be true. Anything to add there, Phil?
No, I think you've summed it quite well, actually. I'm going to go to your next slide here, which really talks about some of the free resources that you have. Wonderful free resources. And I'm also going to add a little bit. I'm going to add this at the bottom of the slide, this is how they could go and learn more about you, Bernard. There's your one of your websites.
Yeah, and they can see that we offer the free, well, we call it the 10K challenge, but really we're thinking of upgrading it to the 50 or 100K challenge, aren't we?
Yeah, I've actually got a slide that's going to talk about that. So
okay, I'll leave you to that.
Surprise. Yeah. Here's the additional information. I'll leave this up a little bit for those who would like to reach out to either to Bernard either by landline, mobile, or want to send him an email to get more information, or to get his offer at the end of this.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Phil.
You're very welcome. Well done, my friend, as always. So I'm going to talk about something that's relevant and it's applicable in all areas of life. Excuse me. It says, Quink, knowing what I now know, what will I do differently? So the next part of this is ask yourself when you've done something, like we could do at the end of this presentation, and we actually have done this on numerous occasions, is we'll have an after live stream session, and we'll ask ourselves together, what will we stop doing? What will we continue doing? And what would we start doing to be providing value to different people? And by doing that, you're learning from your experiences, both the good, the bad, and the ugly. So stop, continue, and start. Normally I would say stop, start, and continue, but the traffic light that I'm using here is in a proper sequence. So I went with stop, continue, and start. Regardless of what order it's in, you need to ask those sort of things. This comes out of zero-based thinking, zero-based accounting, pardon me, which allows you to identify the pluses, the minuses, and the things that need improving. Just a simple concept, but a very powerful one if you implement it and think about it on a regular basis. So a bit of my own selfish promotion. So one of my websites is profitandgrowbusinessmastery.com. There you'll be able to get a number of different bits of information. Actually, I believe one of the videos we have on the homepage is everything you know about marketing is wrong. Well worth a listen. It's not short. It's about 74 minutes. There's nothing to buy, no credit cards required, just a ton of information. So I would go to that particular site. Going to what Bernard was saying earlier is the Profit Accelerator, where this is where Bernard or myself, where we'll be able to help any business find $100,000 of hidden potential in your business without spending a penny on marketing or advertising. Normally, this is something we actually charge for, but for those of you who are seeing this through the live stream connection, if you reach out to either one of us, we'd be happy to run you through this. Now, depending on the size of your company, the $100,000 might be a little bit much, but certainly we can help any business, no matter what the size is, find $10,000 to $20,000 of hidden potential within your business. Any business is over, what threshold would you suggest, Bernard?
Well, if you're looking at businesses sort of 300,000 to 500,000 turnover upwards, revenue upwards, I reckon we'd be looking 50,000 plus, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
So
you mean half a million?
Yeah, about anywhere around about 500,000 we'd be looking. I think as a rule of thumb, we're probably looking about 10% of the revenue would be more or less a rule of thumb, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and if you're a business owner and we didn't help you find $100,000, but we found, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 50,000, they'd be happy with that, wouldn't they?
I'd have thought so.
Yeah, I would hope so too.
Yeah.
So how can you get this? Well, you did see our information, but guess what? Here it is again. Bernard's at the top and Phil's at the bottom, and our email addresses are there. Certainly reach out and make a request, ask us to do one of these for you. And one of the things you'll get out of it, in addition to finding where that potential is, and the potential will vary from business to business, but Like we said, would you be disappointed if you could find an additional $50,000 or $10,000 that you didn't know was there that you could make happen in the next 6 months of this year? That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? You're going to get a summary, a report of what we walk you through. We have a tool called the Profit Accelerator software, Profit Accelerator software, and it's something that we both have access to. We didn't design it and develop it. We're part of an organization that's a global organization that has 800 consultants just like us that have access to this and would want to share it with the world, because I believe Bernard and I have a common thread, and our passion is helping the backbone to all of our economies, and that is small business owners. It's not the big, large corporations. It's the small business owners that need help, and we want to help them through these uncertain times. And this is one of the ways that Bernard and I can do it.
Yeah, and it's just so interesting, isn't it? It's just amazingly exciting and interesting that when you go through the various areas, how much you actually find. It's incredible what you can actually find, isn't it?
Yeah, and many of our customers and prospects, whether they sign up and work with us or not, they become rejuvenated in their business. They see some things to look forward to that they can actually implement and make a difference in their own business.
Yeah, yeah. And what we find as well is it's a huge. You only have to do sort of one thing at a time, don't you? Just find the time to implement one thing at a time, and the cumulative effect is huge.
It actually can't. The concept, I believe, comes from that brilliant mind, Einstein. And it's the eighth wonder of the world, some people say. That's compound interest. So what we're going to share with anybody that would like to jump in and do one of these is how can you leverage that eighth wonder of the world through the ideas and strategies that we can share with you in a 60-minute call.
What we might be able to do at some future date, Phil, actually on one of our calls, is we might be able to do a demo, a sort of a live demo of an actual Profit Accelerator interview, perhaps.
We could actually, we could make that a contest.
Yeah.
Hey, there's Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. Bernard can't see you because he's overseas and the vision back. No, I'm just kidding. I'm driving this. It's off my website. Anyway, I know you've got to run and I've got a dash. We've got a busy schedule for the rest of the day. Yours is on the fun side to rejuvenate and recreate, because recreating is a good portion of success. You need to take time to re-create. So recreation, whether it be at a pub or somewhere else, I have to put in my 8 hours or so yet today, because I'm 7 hours behind this young fella. Anyway, I always enjoy these with you, Bernard. There's always insights that I gain from you and some of the people that join us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, sir. I enjoyed that as well. It was excellent. So we'll speak again soon.
We will. Until next time.
Okay, until next time. Au revoir.